Hello, welcome to my Zoom class. It's Wednesday afternoon and we're painting a couple of Christmas cards today. Thank you for joining us. The cards that we're painting today are a cypress tree at the corner of Marine and Ocean in Moss Beach. I went down during the king tide on Monday just trying to get a feel for the ocean. It was just so beautiful, and this tree really leapt out at me, and I painted it in oils and then painted it for this Christmas card. So what I'm going to do is trace it and put little pieces of PBO, little dots of PBO in the tree, and then when it's all done, I'll paint those as Christmas lights. So I've done the tracing. What I did was I taped it down, and I could either just, draw it freehand, or what I did was put in a piece of non-water soluble graphite paper and traced the picture of this, or the shape of the tree and those beautiful branches. I also put in very gently these little trees here, and there's a tree here. It's in shadow, but there's a little soft tree there too, which will keep our eye from going out. And then on the cardinal, what I did was I had this picture. I used non-water soluble again, and I traced the tree, and then the spot, and then I scooched the cardinal over so that when I traced it, which I did here, the eye would not be in the center, the smack center of the card. It needs to be off the center. So I have those two tracings done. Now what I'm going to do is get a little bit of PBO and a little bit of shampoo, and I'm going to take a number 4 brush and put it into the dilute shampoo and squeeze it out. And then dip my brush into the PBO. And I'm going to put little Christmas lights all in this cypress tree. Oh, some are maybe even a little star at the top. So we'll just pretend someone went out there and strung lights in it. I made them a little bigger today than I did on yesterday's card because they didn't show up very well. And now what I'm going to do with my PBO is I'm going to put the snow on this tree in this little card that came in the mail. And this is going to be sort of blobby. I would have used a credit card, but it's hard to get it sort of blobby. And then I want to skip areas. Wherever I put the PBO down over a line, it'll lift the line when I pull the PBO up. I don't have the tree branch going across because if I have it over this PBO, it's going to lift it up. So really the trick is to make it sort of blobby, but to leave spaces between the branches so that you can put the darks, well, they're very faint darks in them. And then we'll put a little bit more here, and a little bit more. Okay, so that's the snow on the pine tree. And then I want to put PBO on the top of the branch, but not over the bird. And I'm going to go around his little tiny claws. I can make a branch coming off that has a little red. It's going to go behind his tail. So I'm putting the snow on the top of that little branch, even though it's not drawn in. And then I can do another one here. And that will have snow, and there'll be a branch under it, and then we'll put the little red berries. Little red berries. I'm not going to PBO the bird at all. What I need to do now, though, is wash my brush. Because if the PBO in it stays, it's very hard to get out and almost always ruins it. So if I just feel it with my fingers here till it's smooth, then I know I got all the PBO out of the brush. And I always use good brushes when I work with PBO because it really shows up. These are dry, almost dry. So I'm gonna let the cardinal one dry on its own. This one I'm just gonna hit with the blow dryer for just a second. But I'm gonna mute you. So I'm going to paint the background first. And the background of this is the ocean with a little bit of beach right in here. And there's some sky. So here I go. I'm going to wet it all down to the, I can even wet that too. You can wet the whole thing. Go from there. So I wet the whole thing. Oh, this is so fun. I love to take local scenes and play with them. I'm drying off my tape so that I don't get watermarks that go back in. And I am going to put my sky, I tried to make this darker, like it was kind of like nighttime. I don't know that it worked that well. I don't really like that sky, that color on the card. I like it. I think I like it a little more Antwerp-y. So I'm starting with Antwerp. Maybe I'll add just a tiny bit of indigo to that Antwerp and see if I can just sort of darken it. Yeah, I like that. That's good. I'm going to paint my sky. Now that'll make the little star really show. And I get about an inch down. I'll stop with this color. And I'm going to switch to more Antwerp, a little bit of green in it. So maybe I'll try some burnt sienna in it and see what it does. It makes it green. So I greened it up. Well, I don't like that though that much. Let's try some French. I'm trying to make it kind of a dark ocean. That's good. Okay, I like that. That was my dirty brush with more French. Now, yesterday during the day, or Monday when I was painting it, it was so beautiful because the surf was very rough and white behind it. But I think if we paint this with the surf behind it, which I try to do on this one, then you can't really see the lights as well on the tree. So I'm going to just go more flat. Meaning that I'm not leaving little white spots of waves. And then close down here, it's going to be the beach. I purposely didn't touch my sky yet because those two will bleed into each other. You can add a few green streaks because the ocean does kind of change colors. We all know that because we live here. Now I'm going to take some raw sienna or the gold. I kind of have them next to each other, so I always get some of each with a clean brush. And I'm going to put that down here. I can just lift it a little bit, kind of, wasn't really painting with water, it was painting with a dry, thirsty brush to sort of make it look like there's maybe some waves back there touching the sand. I'm gonna see if I can't get a line here. It might just go crazy up in the sky. Good. That to me is going to read ocean behind a tree. It doesn't need to be a well-painted ocean. It just gives us that feeling because the tree is the main focal point, especially that dark branches. So what I want to do now is mix up my greens for the foreground, which are really the same color as the tree, and paint very lightly some light greens in here and the foreground. So that green that I'm going to make is Antwerp and burnt sienna. My old favorite green, my most favorite green of all. And I'm going to make sure that it's there's not much in my brush, so I'm wiping it in my paper towel, and I'm just going to touch it here and see if it blurs, which it is. It's blurring because this is all wet. So this tree here is going to stop my eye from going out of that painting that way. And these trees here are going to stop it from going out that way. So those are background trees, and I'm going to put in the branches to these with very, very pale brown paint when it's all dry. I think those are going to soften as they dry. The branches of the cypress tree will be much, much brighter. Now I'm going to paint in these bushes down here. In the picture, these are pretty dark green. And then they were very light up where they were hitting the sand, where they were covering up the sand. So I was looking down the bluff. I don't know if you know this spot. I have my greens going out a little higher on the outside where it hits a tape of these bushes. Now I'm mixing up more paint, and I'm going to add indigo to it. So I'm going to get a really dark green, and that's the green that I'm going to use when I do my cypress tree. But right now what I'm just trying to do is add in some variation. Oh, I forgot to put little lights in these bushes. Oh well. If you're doing if you're painting already, it's too late. I just thought it would be pretty if there were like little white lights. You know how people put little white lights on their hedges? That was what I was trying to go for in this one, but it didn't work with the white, and then I made them different colors. So maybe it'll look better without any. All right. I was trying to paint the edges of the tape because it always looks good when you pull the tape off and it's a super straight edge. I'll just leave that. I'm going to sign it right into this. So now this needs to dry before I paint the rest of it. So I'm going to blow dry it. I'm going to just finish up this one card right now. So I'm going to blow dry it. And I'm going to put in the branches. Well, you know what I'm going to do? No, of course not. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the big branch first, the trunk, and a couple of these branches. Then I'm going to put in all the foliage, and then I'll do the little connectors at the end. So the first thing I'm going to do is mix really dark paint with burnt sienna, very dark brown, or a sepia. I still haven't ordered that sepia. And some French ultramarine blue. That makes black. You can add indigo to it if you want. That also makes a very nice dark black, brown. So burnt sienna and French ultramarine blue make a beautiful black. So I'm going to go out of these bushes. So I don't want to, I want it to be a little bit rough here where it comes out of the bushes. And I love this huge bend right there. It's got such a personality. So when I'm painting, I think that maybe the hardest thing is, excuse me, is the hardest part about figuring out what to paint is what not to paint. Like I'm leaving out this pine tree, I'm leaving out all of that and all of this, and there's branches coming over. I'm just focusing in on this one cypress tree and a couple little trees here to block my eye from going out. So then this has this beautiful branch that comes this way and that way. And then it has these beautiful branches that come off in that way. So I'm going to stop now painting the trunk in, and I'm going to go and do the branches of the cypress. So this is super dark green again. Darker, way darker than it's been so far. So Antwerp blue and burnt sienna makes this dark green. And I want a lot of pigment. I want it really thick so that it's really dark. And then when I take off the pebeo, I'll have little lights. I'm adding indigo. That'll make it even darker. It's like a blackish green, which is what I want. Now I'm just going to take my brush. It's all loaded with that beautiful paint. And I have to decide if I want the star at the very, very tippy top, because if I do, I don't paint over it. I paint just under it. Little branches like that. So I'm just touching it with my brush. And cypress trees Their branches at the top grow, I think they grow out, but as they get lower, I think what happens is they get heavier and they kind of go flat. Because there's that one cypress tree in Pacifica, you know the one I mean, Dee. That one that's right there at, is it Lomamar Beach? Is that what you call it? Lindemar Beach.
Yeah.
And when the bottom branches are almost straight out, but the top branches are at angles. So I think what happens as the tree gets older, some break off and they just get heavier and they just lean that way. So at the top, we want to paint kind of at an angle going up. And I want to paint over all my blobs of PBO. And I want to leave some sky and ocean showing through these. I made that pretty solid, but now I'm just touching it. I'm back, but I'm sideways.
There you are.
Oh, I'm getting the hang of it. I hope I mixed enough paint. The fun part. Yeah, looks like I need to make a little more. Ah! Yep. Well, listen. I'm laughing because of the shape I just made. That's pretty close. I think I'm going to stop with the big branches. And now what I'm going to do is take that brown paint and I'm going to make very, very dilute paint. Before I add in my big dark branches, I'm going to add in these very soft ones. So this one has like a little twist to it too. And this one had several little branches going up. It's going to blot those so they're very soft and our eye isn't going to be attracted to them. They're just going to help us know what's going on in this painting, that there's little soft trees behind this big one. Now I'm going to go in with more super dark sepia paint that I've mixed up myself, burnt sienna, French ultramarine blue. It's the same black that I made for the trunk. And now I'm going to make some branches that catch all of these. So I have one that often they come out like this and then they come up and they catch these guys. And that's what's beautiful about these trees, are when these branches come off the sides. I just think it's so beautiful. This one will come up and get these. I'm just using the very, very tip of this brush. It's got such a fine point that I can, if I just paint with the very tip of it, I can get these incredibly soft lines. Or I'm not soft, but skinny. Skinny lines. And I'm just putting a few out here so that I know that that's the top. And then we're almost done. We just have to dry it and pull the PBO off. So one more drying. Whenever you remove the PBO, your painting has to be very, very dry. If it's wet at all, you will smudge it, and your PBO, your little lines won't be white, they'll be green if you're in green. Here we go. Look at those Christmas lights. How's my star? Oh, it's good. Okay, now we just have to decide what color Christmas lights are going to be on this tree. I can use this brush or the number 4. This one has such a nice point. Definitely some yellow. The star I'll make yellow. It's got to be clean. Nope, see, dirty paint. That indigo and the French and the sepia really stay in a brush, so you got to be really careful that you don't get your yellow dirty. Yellow's got to be clean. Try again. That's pretty clean there. We got it. Okay, so I'm going to do the little star, and the little star, and then some yellow ones. And then blue, pure Antwerp. Couple blue ones. Definitely we need red. I think for red, the best red, because I tried a whole bunch of different reds on this, is to make red with Hansa Yellow Medium and Permanent Rose makes the best red. So that's what I'm going to use. You can make little highlights on your lights. You can, I don't know, I think it just looks good, these little balls. Another color. A lot of times there's green. So I'll use green blue. Couple green lights. That's all. I think that's good. And I pull off the tape, which is always the most fun part of all, I think, when the border shows up. And we have a local Christmas tree card. So I think if you live in Pacifica, or there's a tree that, so that one tree in Pacifica is very distinctive. That'd be fun to paint with lights on it. Or if you're in San Francisco and there's a certain tree that you have up there that you like. So it's whatever tree you like. So that's that. And then we have this. So I'm going to take a breath. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the background all first. And it's a very soft, muted color. I'm not going to wet the cardinal. I can go over the tree branch though. I'm just wetting everything but the cardinal. And we just need a very soft background. Again, I'm drying the tape. I lift it up, I can see where I missed, where the white spots are. So, I'll show you the original card. See, it's kind of got a yellow cast to it. When it printed out on the computer, it came out not yellow, but pink. And I kind of like the yellow cast. I think I'll just leave this here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint with my raw sienna and my gold. And I'm just going to put that color all over the background. It does have a little bit of pinkish, salmon-y color down here, almost a lavender. I think I just made my background darker than this picture. I'm going to make a little bit of lavender. With just a little bit of permanent rose and French ultra. Can you guys hear there's a drill? Can you hear that?
Outside.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's not my husband. He wants you to know that. I was going to blame him.
Somebody outside. Can't blame me.
So I'm just making some soft lavenders up into that. And then the next thing is to take the dark green. I can use the one from the last painting. And put it underneath the snow. Underneath the PBO. And it's going to be soft. So really, I'm just doing that tree there. Go on the other side of this branch. Okay. That's the background that needs to be dried now. Now it's dry. I'm going to take off the PVO. Before I paint the cardinal, I'm going to paint all this snow. I just pulled my tape up a little bit. where the snow is, you know what, I just made a mistake. Before I pulled the snow up on that twig, I should have put in all my darks. So that was an oopsie. What I'm gonna do is paint my dark twig in, and then you're gonna pretend that I did that before I took off the PBO. So I'm making dark brown with burnt sienna and French ultramarine blue, and I'm gonna put in my little twigs, the bottom of the snow. And I am going to paint the shadows on the snow. And it's going to be mostly just pure Antwerp. Very, very pale. I think Antwerp is the best color for shadows of snow. So I put it on the bottoms of these clumps. Very, very, very pale Antwerp. And on the bottom of the clumps, the bottom of the snow on, of course it just blurred because my brown was wet. I'm trying to kind of go fast because this is taking a long time. And then when this is dry, I'll put another branch over that snow there. Now I'm going to do the cardinal. The beak is orange. So we've made a lot of orange since October. And orange is Hansa Yellow Medium and Permanent Rose. So I'm just going to paint this little orange beak in. Try to leave a little highlight. I didn't, but I'll try to dab one out. There we go. And this part's kind of orange, sort of an orange tinge there. And now I'll make some real red. And again, I'm going to use yellow and Permanent Rose to make my best red. So he's got quite the crown. I can paint right over his mask with the red because the black will cover it up, or I can leave it, either way. Nice one, dear. Oh, I don't know why I love cardinals so much. I think because I did never see one till I was 35 or 40. And I always thought they were so Christmassy. I'm kind of rushing a little bit. Oh, I forgot his foot. I think his foot's kind of orange too. Put a little orange foot in there. Okay, and now some darks. Again, burnt sienna, French ultramarine blue. Oh, it's a good black. So this is wet, but I'm gonna just put it in. And their eyes are in their mask, so if I want to just leave a little rent in the eye, I can do that. That'll give him some personality. There's a little dark part of his beak. His tail feathers have some shadow, some darkness in them. Maybe on his back is a little bit of shadow. I think another layer of red would help. Just go over it again. There'll be some, I think it'll look more like feathers. Like that better. Then I want to put in the last of the branches and the little berries. So the branches are just the same color with maybe a little bit more burnt sienna in that brown. It's not black. And I do want to have one go over, come out of here, and have some little berries on it. So now I'm just going to rinse my brush out one last time and get that beautiful red that I'm making and make little berries. I don't really know what kind of berries these are. Do they even have red berries on trees where there are cardinals? Has anybody lived in the East?
Well, they have holly, I guess.
But this wouldn't be holly.
No.
This is I paint it, you name it, I guess. Okay, and then if I take off my tape, well, this one doesn't want to come off easily. It's stuck. I forgot to sign it. I feel like I rushed it a little bit because of the time. This is kind of complicated. There he is. I like him better, I think, than the top one. That was a lot of painting.
Looks great.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Did any of you try to paint?
No.
Dee didn't. She was just watching. Are you going to try and do them later, Dee?
Yes, I've got them sketched and I have them PBO'd, but I'll paint now.
Oh, good. And so then on the email, you can send them.
Okay.
Thank you. But I see Penny's painting away, and so is Getty and Vicky.
Mine's not finished. Either one.
Was
I
very
had to wait for it to
stressful
dry.
to go so fast.
It was a lot of
Did it
painting
fast.
fast.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I think we'll say goodbye to YouTube for now. So thank you for watching, YouTube people.